All right, what's up, everyone? Welcome back. Man, we have a lot of topics to talk about of our community and everyone who's watching. Thanks for joining us. To me, Chris, I got Brendan on the mic and Show, as usual, my co host here.
Yes, sir.
So, we're going to get started because honestly, we're going to talk about a game today that I was really eagerly anticipating. It's
Me
it's
too,
it's going
man.
to be one of those sale games now. Like I really want to catch it at $10 or
Yeah,
something.
absolutely.
And the game we're talking about, obviously, is Callisto
Yeah.
Protocol. Really is just like a spiritual successor of sorts to Dead Space. Headed by Glenn Schofield over at Striking Distance Studios. Um, I guess there were a lot of growing pains because, man, this game has been getting washed off the face of the planet with these reviews that are coming out. Mostly
Yeah.
performance issues on PC, Xbox, and things like that. For some reason, PS5's performance is a little better than everyone else, and people think that it has to do with maybe some type of a deal that they had with Sony. There's already like a pack that you can get through PlayStation that you can't get through anywhere else. But I just want to get into the nitty gritty of it because even though people are being really negative about the game, there's a lot more there to dissect, to give reasoning as to why this game flopped and why it didn't just deliver on the promise and the potential that it was sort of feeding off of up
Yeah.
until launch. When you guys went into playing the game, or at least into the launch of the game, if you guys have seen gameplay or whatever, what was one of the things you were maybe looking forward to about the game?
So I was really hoping to kind of get back to like the OG like Dead Space type experience, because like to me like Dead Space is one of the like the most instrumental like gaming franchises that I love that just sort of like survival horror, and like Dead Space was like the pinnacle of that for me when I was in my youth. And now, I mean, not even not my youth, but you know what I mean. But like when a game is being made by Glenn Schofield and being billed as like the spiritual successor, and it looked as good as it did, I was just like very much hoping to recapture that same sort of experience that I had with Dead Space back in the day, and just like the PC optimization, the bugs, just like the reviews at launch, it just everything kind of just like was a real bummer to say the least, because
Yeah, and
I had such
didn't
high
stop,
hopes.
right?
I
Like
had such
it
high
just
hopes.
a flood of bad reviews, a flood
Yeah.
of bad opinions, and just it
Hmm.
almost seemed like you
Yeah.
wanted to sit there and be like, "Oh, it's getting review bombed. I don't believe any
Yeah.
of it. I got to play it for myself." I really was in denial for about a week and a half.
Yeah. Even the story, they're saying it's like the story too. It's not even like the
A lot of stuttering on PC, a lot of problems with the combat and the fact that it's really not as
Mhm.
fleshed out. I mean, I don't know
Yeah.
what people were expecting from the combat necessarily. I mean, Dead Space didn't necessarily have the best combat. It had great
Yeah, well,
gunplay.
it was the gunplay was lackluster,
Yeah.
and heavily more focused on the melee with like whatever that weapon is they give you that I think
Mhm.
not a lot of people realize, and then also the weird dodge mechanic
Mhm.
that almost kind of
Which
made
is
it like
kinda just
too easy.
over-pushed in a
Yeah,
way.
yeah. So it was, at least in terms of the story, I mean, spoiler alert, but if you're, I doubt there's much of a spoiler alert. But
Mhm.
like the end of the game, like apparently, like the whole last sequence of the game was like just hated by like everybody, because you pretty much all you're doing is just tracking down this different versions of the same boss over and over and over, and
Yeah.
it's not even like good or entertaining or like that difficult, and I don't
Yeah.
know, it just takes away from like what the variety that could have been there.
Oh, they had that problem with God of War, the first God of War. There was just a lot of, I wouldn't say hate, but it was a little bit of distaste towards the fact that you fought so many trolls throughout the
Yeah,
campaign, and
yeah,
they were
yeah. It
really
was like
just different
the main
elements.
criticism. Yeah, the enemy variety
So
or the boss variety.
I mean, there are positives and there are negatives when it came to the game. The graphics are being lauded as some of the best graphics you'll see in any AAA game.
Hmm.
But I think one of the main things for me with this game and what I've been seeing from everyone is just there seems to be a budget problem when it came to this game. Money invested in certain parts of the game and not necessarily invested in others. Time invested into maybe some monotonous sections. I mean, I don't know. I think Glenn Schofield is notorious for putting a lot of time onto sections. There's an
Hmm.
interview he did about the tentacle from Dead Space and how
Yeah.
long they spent animating that and
Yep.
how they almost quit the game.
Yeah.
Just trying to get through that
Hmm.
section. It almost broke their whole development cycle. So you could kind of see that there's got to be some inklings of leadership having problems when it came to striking distance. Now, one of the points we're going to bring up here is that we are really looking forward to their next project. You know, this is a company that's not going to go away. It's not going to be, unless they cancel it and they close the studio, which would be, studio close number 2 for Glenn Schofield. But I don't think they'll do that to him. There's
Hmm.
potential here, but it's just a little tough. It's just a little tough to really sit back and just see how this game fell flat when kind of had everything going for it. But it's at different levels. So we'll start off with
Hmm.
one. The first one I think is Crunch. Have you guys heard about the controversial, I guess, quote that he had put out, which apparently a lot of CEOs are putting out controversial quotes nowadays, including Yves Guillemot from Ubisoft. But Crunch is a problem.
I mean, definitely. I mean, I feel like a lot of times when we see any sort of like, uh, games that aren't like meeting its, expectations at launch, it's always an issue. There's always the issue of crunch that comes up. We saw the same thing with Cyberpunk. Even Rockstar faced serious crunch issues back with Red Dead 2, I believe it
Yeah.
was.
Hmm.
So I feel like it's always an issue. And now, I feel like you see a lot of developers going out of their way to like, say how they're not contributing to crunch, or like I feel like I think it was God of War Ragnarok where I think they specifically said how like they're taking their sweet ass time to like avoid like
Hmm.
crunch. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
things like that.
I mean, Glenn has come out publicly saying that they did crunch and that it was his fault. He took responsibility for it. But at the end of the day, when things aren't able to be completed in the manner that they need to be and you ship the game, I'm surprised that it didn't get as much hate as a Cyberpunk did. But then again, the hype wasn't the same. There is a group of people out there that enjoy the game. They enjoy the atmosphere that it created. They enjoy the combat. They enjoy the fact that you can use stasis to throw enemies into different contraptions. The kill animations are apparently gratuitous as hell. I mean, it just sucks that this happened for the game. They really had a nice trailer reveal for Callisto Protocol, and it was so well done. You would literally sit there and be like, "All right, that game. There's no way that game could fail. There's no way that game's going to be bad if it's being headed, by Glenn." They're talking about how they had to watch gore and watch so much of these things to make it as accurate as possible. The combat looked meaty from whatever they did show. Everyone loved the baton, the electric baton that he was using, and then, the gun mechanics and the stasis from what we saw was good, but we figured there would be a lot of upgrading and things like that. So you kind of took it for what you saw, but the end product ended up not being what people wanted. The story was really not impactful at all. It picks up in the second half and just kind of, like Brendan said, throws you off at the end off a cliff and leaves you hanging there, just waiting for the DLC kind of pointlessly.
Yeah. Hmm.
I wanted to bring up really quick the quote that Glenn came out with after he put out that tweet, saying how he was proud of the team for the amount of hours and effort they were putting in. Anyone who knows me knows how passionate I am about the people I work with. Earlier, I tweeted how proud I was of the effort and hours the team was putting in. That was wrong. We value passion and creativity, not long hours. I'm sorry to the team for coming across like this. So it's it's kind of, you can kind of see that he's taking ownership. It's not all the way. Again, for some reason,
Hmm.
CEOs have this tendency to sit at the top and reap the benefits of the workers underneath them. But I don't necessarily think Glenn is of that ilk. I actually think he is a genuine person. What do you guys think about Glenn's position in that company? Do you think that it's his leadership that caused this game to fail the way it did, and maybe he needs to take a different role, or do you think that he's the right guy for the job? That they just need a game under their belts?
I just think they need a game under the belts. I don't think that like he should step down or anything.
Hmm.
I guess there would need to be more of like an autopsy, you know what I mean, to figure out what exactly was the crux of the issue. But I mean, I would say like just give him. I think he doesn't. I don't think he's not earned another crack at it.
You definitely got to give Glenn his props for what he was able to do with what they had. But whether it was budget allocation, whether it was understanding what projects needed to be completed, this game should have come out in a much better state than it did, and it really didn't. So this is something that they're gonna have to look in the mirror about, because you can't just go back on it. But I do want to give Glenn the next game. I do want to give him another shot, and I just hope the public does too. Public tends to just see a bad game and they want to blackball a company. Whenever Striking Distance comes out with another game, they'll be like, "Nah, bro, Callisto Protocol was trash. I don't want to play that." Let's give him another shot. Let's give him another chance, and let's see what they do in the next iteration of this Callisto Protocol universe. Because honestly, it's a beautiful game. I think Resident Evil 8 really had some amazing graphics, but this game is up there, man. This
Yeah,
game is
this
up there.
one, this
Yeah.
was definitely up there. But honestly, it's like companies do it to themselves by not taking their time, you know.
Hmm.
So like, of course,
Yeah.
they deserve another chance because mind you, it's their first game, new IP. You know, you can't give them too much backlash. Besides overworking yourselves, just take your time, bro. That's all it really
Hmm.
is. I feel like if companies take way more time, games will come out fleshed out like how they used to. I feel like we don't get games that are complete anymore. You know?
Yeah, definitely, definitely. We'll leave it at that for now, though. I mean, there's really just not much else other than the DLC coming out for that game. It is what it is. That's kind of how I've looked at it with Callisto Protocol. But let us know in the comments below what you guys think. Do you guys think that Glenn did what he could with the team and did what he could with the product and put out what they had to? Or was this just a failure across the board and it's something that, maybe we shouldn't put too much stock into their next game? Let us know what you think. We'll definitely be responding, and we're happy to be back. But for now, my name is Chris. I got Brendan and Show on the mic. This is Film and Gaming, guys. Thanks for joining us.